TPUSA and the gang are freaking out. A couple of things you've got to look at right now differently. And I'm not sure if anybody's telling you this, but I'm going to tell you in no particular order. In no particular order, no particular level of magnitude, ascending, descending, or vice versa. Just stuff that drives me crazy. First, enough with these stupid debates. They're not debates. What is this? Have you ever, I mean, maybe it's me. Maybe I find them boring because nobody says anything. Or the people who represent the, I guess you would call it what? The lone gunman, lone wolf crowd don't know what the hell they're talking about. Or they're hacks. You know, you've got these conservative hacks, right? You've got the usual folks. Look, I don't mean to point out any fingers. You know, the Riley Gaines and the usual, the Ben Shapiro. We'll get to that in a moment. So there's nothing. Riley Gaines is fine, but what's her whole thing? It's a one-trick pony. I know. Men and women's sports. I got it. And it's a part of this trope and this meme, which is frankly called, I think legally the Latin word is no shit obviousness. Nobody in the United States, nobody is actually saying, you know, I think we need to do more to put men in women's sports. Nobody. This is an artificial fringe, kind of a junk food topic for people who don't know any better. For people who don't have time to really worry about the news. For people who don't have time to really find out what's going on. It's a very simple thing. It's low-hanging fruit. Easy to digest. It's in that, you know, when you go into do you ever go down a potato chip line and oh, look at these, the color, you know, natural and colors and you know, the design. Oh, this looks great. That'll ruin your appetite. Easy to get to. It's simple, it's salty, it's savory. It'll do the trick. And then 5 minutes later, you're hungry again. Because that's what this is. It's nothing. It's this conservative palaver. It's the Fox News stuff. Love it or leave it. We'll get to that in a moment. You know, that's that whole TPUSA thing. Anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. But so what you're hearing right now is you have these, they dust off these specimens and they represent kind of like bad, you know what they really like, to be honest with you? An analogy that I just thought of. They're tribute bands. They're people who try to act like the Beatles or sound like the Beatles or sound like whatever the hell they are. Bay City Rollers. Ask your parents. They're not the real thing. They're as close to it as you're gonna get. That's precisely what this is right now. Precisely. And what's also important to note is a couple of things which are critical. There is this movement right now, and now we'll switch to Tyler. Tyler Robinson is the lone gunman story. Sound familiar? So what they're doing is they're putting out these new stories, these tropes, these memes, these tropisms, these vectors, ideological vectors, and what they're trying to do is to repeat, again, the trope, the meme, the idea that, and this is important, that these people, the left, the radical left, are the violent ones. They're the ones you're going to have to worry about. They're the ones you're going to have to think about. They're the ones to keep an eye on. They're the ones who are the problem. They're the ones. Why? Because that's the story. That's the story which is the most important. Because what they're doing is they're saying right now that Charlie Kirk was killed by this lone gunman representing the leftist, transgender, whatever the hell it is. And that those are the people, not foreign countries, domestic intel or foreign intel agencies, nobody who's represents perhaps an organized, and you can fill in the blank. You could say Israel, the U.S., MI6, Mossad, Anan, CIA, NSA, whatever you want to do. We're getting away from that. Oh, no. We're getting away from that trope, that meme, that direction. We're pushing that it's the left. And what they're doing is they'll bring in some stuff that really does make sense. They'll say, see, Antifa left. These radical crazies who shoot people with purple hair, yes, left. And that doesn't mean that they don't exist. but they're not the ones responsible for this. It's like if I were to bring up the mafia. Okay, let's just be crazy. And I were to suggest to you, and I'm going to throw out the mafia as a, let's say Tyler Robinson was a part of the Genovese family, whatever the hell it is. And you say, what? They say, oh, yes. You know, the mafia is very powerful. Well, we're not saying they aren't. Or no. See, the mafia, they didn't like Charlie because Charlie somehow stepped on somebody's toes. And that Tyler Robinson was a made guy, got his button, got his badge straightened out. You know, was like, wait a minute. That's not, the mafia didn't do this. Oh, there is a mafia. I didn't say there wasn't. Just like I'm not saying there's a radical left or violent left or Antifa. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that, and by the way, even if Tyler was a member of this radical left or whatever, or even if he was a member of some, the Lucchese's or whatever, doesn't mean they did it. Don't you know what they're doing? They're presenting this, again, this meme, this trope, this idea, this deflection as a way for you to say, oh, yeah, because they don't want you to look at what's going on. And by the way, the guy who really brought this up, who really now is opening up a can of worms. And by the way, it's not just Jimmy Dore I'm talking about, but there are others as well who are talking about perhaps maybe a drone or some type of a weapon system that has not been mentioned. Now, Candace Owens, bless her heart, has suggested as an alternative hypothesis, theory, maybe not an exploding mic, but the mic as a means of firing some type of a directed fragment-shaped charge or something, using the microphone as a weapon. Not that it blew up, that some type of a percussion, went in and took out his, right lung. No. So what happened was, as soon as she said that, they went crazy. And they're going through everything she's ever written because she's over the target. You only get flack when you're over the target. They're going crazy. So understand what we're doing right now is they're doing everything, this new thing, America, love it or leave it, and they're bringing out Ben Shapiro. Now, who do you think? Who do you think is going to push that narrative? How did Ben Shapiro insinuate himself in any of this? Charlie is rolling over in his grave if he was buried, if he wasn't cremated, if he wasn't wherever he is. He cannot believe it. And somewhere AWOL from this, completely MIA, is Erica. I don't know where she is. I don't know what she's doing. I just gave up on her. I said, just this gal doesn't know what in the hell is going on. Sorry to say, but it's true. She has no idea what's going on. Ben Shapiro, Riley Gaines. You see what they're doing? This is for this new TPUSA rally. This is the best they can do. They're trying desperately. Maybe, if I had to guess, just a hunch, just an opinion, just a wild guess, their donor base said, you better get off your ass and do something. And by the way, this goes for you, Blake and Andrew and all these others. Stop with this nonsense about these Charlie Kirk messages. It is the height of blasphemy for you to even do this with Charlie Kirk's name there. Okay, so that's the second part. Or the third. I'm not even keeping track. The next point is they're bringing up this trope that somehow, this is important, they're trying to suggest that the defense lawyers were suggesting something about Candace Owens or others being conspiracy theorists, right? And this is the new thing. This is the brand new thing. What they're doing is they're bringing up this piece. Hang on, this discovery. Bear with me. By the way, if you don't follow X, you're wasting your time. You are wasting your time. If you do not do this, if you are not following this, if you do not follow this, you're missing the point. Okay, where is it? There's this new document that people are putting out. All right, I gotta do it the hard way, huh? All right, let me do it again. Let me show you this way. Let me tell you what it reads. It was put out apparently by some particular document. I don't know where exactly. It doesn't really matter. But the enemy is using it, and what it is it says, now in the state's opposition to our motion, this is the defense. there is a lot of information, and I'll try not to be sarcastic, but I do think it's kind of noise about the intense public interest in this case. There's a reference to, unstable people coming to the courthouse, to conspiracy theorists saying things online. We're all aware of that. I mean, I don't know what the court has read. It's none of my business. Well, it is your business. I've received some wacky phone calls and emails, people getting me to think, telling me what they think happened. Okay, so by virtue of this, and my poor reading of this, they're trying to intimate and suggest to you that somehow this is Candace Owens, and that this is from the defense counsel. And what they're doing is they're trying to show you, see, she's crazy. The defense counsel. Now listen, I've said this before, and I've always made it a point. You don't know what the defense team is doing. They could be working 24/7 for all I know. So far, what I have seen from what, again, and it's limited, so I say it, but it's not really important, I'm woefully unimpressed. But it may be because they're so good at this, they're letting out no information. They might be the best at this because they seem to be a little bit more focused on arguing the defense or the death penalty part than anything else. But this is what they're trying to do. They are freaking out. Freaking out. The defense is now saying, there was some reference to this, the defense, I don't know what they're doing, but those people who are pulling the trope together, I don't know who they are, Pickles and Viva, why they're involved in it, I have no idea. And then there's going to be this multiplicity of debates. So it just goes to show you. And the latest that I think I told you was this study that shows that it's the left. You see what I'm doing? They are pushing this narrative. They're trying they're trying to poison the well, so to speak. These are the people, these are the equivalent of the crazy women who are clamoring for the acquittal of Lindsay Clancy. This is the same thing. You're wondering, what is the matter with you? How do you side with this? How do you possibly side with these people? And that is what's happening right now. That is the issue. That's what's important. And that's what I want you to listen to very, very carefully. Do you see what's happening? They are freaking out. And I will add this very important aspect. They're freaking out for good reason. Comment as you see fit.